welcome to the live. My name is Kayla Cox. I am the owner of this here channel, 6 Miles to Supper. And 6 Miles to Supper is a channel about intermittent fasting and weight loss and kind of the holistic picture of weight loss, not just the tactics, but also the mindset and all that goes into it. And I personally lost 80 pounds with intermittent fasting. My highest confirmed weight was 222 pounds. I got down to a lowest confirmed 7-day average of like 142 pounds. And I've been trying to maintain in the 140s, although sometimes it's like in the low 150s. Since that time, I kind of did the weight loss journey in 2 stages. I lost some weight. I got down to an initial goal weight of like 158. That was back in 2016, so that was 10 years ago. And then I maintained for like a year, started this channel, lost some more weight, lost down into the low 140s, and then since then have just been trying to maintain a healthy BMI, which for me is anything lower than 155. So anyway, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them based on my own experience. It's just my experience. I am a study of one. I'm not a doctor or a scientist or a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'm just a regular person who used to struggle mightily with their weight from the time I was a kid. I was always struggling, being overweight or being on diets, diet pills, tried everything, and always struggled and was always miserable, had a terrible relationship with food. But intermittent fasting changed all that. So if you have questions, be sure to just pop them into the chat. If you have questions that you want to ask anonymously, I always do post a form, a Google form, a link to a Google form on the post section of this site, not this site, of YouTube. And that link never changes. So if you want to bookmark that form, you can. And if you have a question, you can put it in there. I check, or Jay, technically my husband Jay, he's in the chat. He checks that form like 15 minutes before we go live to grab the questions from there. So without further ado, let's get into some questions. So James, NM5UU, who's here on the live, hey James, asks, what do you think about morning OMAD? That's the time I am the most hungry. Can I do OMAD forever for maintenance? Do you take a multivitamin? Okay, so good. Lots of questions there. Okay, so morning OMAD, never done it. That's because for me, so I have my context, right, is I have 3 kids. Well, one of my kids is grown and now the house and has his own business and all that stuff. So he's gone now, but I still have 2 kids at home. They're teenagers, and then I have my husband. And for me, the meal that just makes the most sense to sit down and eat with everybody is supper. Breakfast is one of those, like a lot of times my kids aren't even really hungry for breakfast. They'll push it kind of later if they eat breakfast at all. And I, when I can just, if I were to just sit down and think like, what would I prefer to eat? It would really be supper. Cause I like to have my morning coffee, but I'm really not hungry in the mornings, just in general. I used to force myself to eat, like, cause I had it in my head, like, oh, I've got breakfast is the most important part of the day, or most important meal of the day. And if I don't eat breakfast, then I'm going to kill my metabolism. And so I gotta eat. And so, but when just left to my own devices, breakfast, I can kind of take it or leave it. I enjoy breakfast. Like on Saturday mornings, we do a pancake breakfast, or sometimes it's different stuff these days. Like sometimes it's cinnamon rolls, sometimes it's eggs and potatoes, hash browns, stuff like that. But a breakfast, like there's something nice about that, like a nice breakfast on Saturday morning where you're just kind of relaxed and you're sitting there and you're eating and talking, and it's nice. But it just doesn't work for me on a day-to-day, like that's my big meal thing. From a standpoint of will it work? I mean, if it works in your life, it absolutely will work. It's no different than doing it in the evening. I mean, because it really comes down to the calories. How many calories are you eating? If you eat 1,500 in the morning and then for the rest of the day you're just out doing your stuff, or if you do it a different way, a totally different way, and you say, oh, I'm only going to have my calories, at supper, and that's it, like 1,500 calories in the evening, your weight loss results won't be any different. Like it's going to be the same, calorically speaking. that's if your activity levels are equal in those two situations as well. So yeah, like if you find that that's the thing that works for you, then I would say do it that way. Whatever feels easiest and works the best, fits the best in your life, absolutely do that thing. um can I do OMAD forever in maintenance? I mean, I'm not I'm not gonna stop you. I wondered about that like a long time ago. When I was doing OMAD initially, I thought, can you do this long term? Like what, I didn't know. And my attitude has always been, I'm just gonna see. Like does this? I mean, if OMAD were to ever start causing problems for me, like where I felt like, okay, this is no longer serving me. Like I'm not feeling well. I'm not doing well. And I figure and if it really did seem like the actual root cause was OMAD, then I would say, okay, I got to change that. But I've been practicing OMAD for it would be my, I would say, the main way I have eaten for the past 10 years. I mean, uh my original plan when I got to OMAD, and that was like April of 2016. I was doing that 6 days a week, and then I've always taken Sundays off. So I've always had at least one day off from OMAD. That's just how I've done it. And then in maintenance, though, that first maintenance, I would do sometimes OMAD, sometimes other things. Sometimes I'd do a 16/8. Sometimes I wouldn't do any fasting at all. I was just kind of experimenting that year. Then when I went back in 2017, started like getting like more consistent doing OMAD again, 6 days a week, cheat day on Sunday. I did that for like another year. And then uh since I would say probably the past 5 years, my pattern has been OMAD 5 days a week, 2MAD Saturdays, and then cheat day on Sunday. So, and that was just simply because of the pancake breakfast. We started going to church on Sunday, so I still wanted that to be a complete day off. And so then I said, okay, on Saturdays though, I'll go ahead and have breakfast and supper. Um, I love it. I feel great. I mean, like it works well in my day. I just prefer this way of eating. Um, but I'm one person, and there really have not been a lot of studies done, so I can't point to a particular thing and say, see, they did it and they're fine. I can give you another anecdotal piece of evidence. There's a great book, and it's out of print now, but you can find it on Open Library. It's called To Love Fasting, and it's by a monk. His name escapes my brain right now. Albert. Oh, I can't think of the last name. Adalbert de Vogue. It is a great book. But basically, he practiced OMAD, and he lived to be pretty old, and he walked a lot too. Like a reader emailed me one time, or a viewer or watcher emailed me one time about that book and said, you should read this book because he's a lot like he did a lot of the same things you did, like walking every day and just eating one meal a day. It's a fantastic book, wonderful little book. And I really enjoyed it. So he did it. I did it. Monks in the past, and sometimes some monks even to this day, practice that kind of way of eating, like one meal a day. Monks tend to live longer than the average population. Um, uh, but really, it comes down to you. Like, what do you want to do? Uh, what are you willing to do? But from a standpoint of, can you? I mean, it's your life, So, and I am finding it to be a long-term solution. I guess I could put it that way. Do you take a multivitamin? No, I don't. And I every so often I'll doubt myself on that. So when I was a kid, I would usually take a multivitamin. And then in like early adulthood, oh man, I was taking so many vitamins. I read some book. It might have been You, the Owner's Manual by Dr. Oz. And man, I bought so many different kinds of vitamins. I mean, it was like a handful that I was taking every day. And I remember I got pregnant uh, around that time, and you know the little form at the doctor's office, they're asking you like what all supplements do you take. And the nurse was pretty alarmed at how many, like all the different vitamins and everything, and I said, oh well, I'm you know, that was what I had been taking, but I've just switched over to the prenatal multivitamin. She was like relieved, which kind of gave me pause. I was like, well, okay, that book said that, you know, and he's a doctor. But you know, since then I've grown a little bit more suspicious, wary, I don't know, skeptical of a lot of the vitamins out there. I've researched it a good bit, and everything that I see, all the scientific stuff that I've read, um, tends to point to most Americans, at least, are not nutrient deficient. If anything, we are kind of overly so. Like we to put it bluntly, we pee out a lot of those vitamins that we're taking in. Like if you're supplementing a lot, you've got very expensive urine, is the way I've heard it put. Um, you know, and as far as, you know, are you healthier, better off? You know, I've not been convinced when I've looked at the actual research. I say do, you know, like if it makes you feel better, or if you're like convinced because you look at a thing, okay, go for it. Like I have no problem with that. Um, uh, but that is just my you know, a good book that I recently read was by Kevin Hall, and it's called Food Intelligence. And so he's a scientist, so you know, like I said, I'm not a scientist, but he is, and he devoted an entire chapter to vitamin mania. And that was, I felt like that was it felt like vindication for me, because I don't take vitamins, and I sometimes think, oh, you know, maybe I should, because I used to take a lot. But yeah, when I read that chapter, I was like, yeah, there's just a lot of marketing. That's the thing about all these things that are out there. Any kind of diet book, exercise. I mean, look, I've got diet books. Okay, full disclosure, I wrote books about intermittent fasting. I stand to gain from talking about intermittent fasting, encouraging people to practice intermittent fasting. Like, so I am part of the machine. Okay, I wrote all the books that I did because I genuinely love intermittent fasting. It was the first and only solution that ever really worked for me as far as weight loss that felt enjoyable and that was actually maintainable. But so my point is there, just because they're, you know, vitamin companies are profiting, that doesn't make them evil. But it's important to just realize that marketing is a part of all of this, you know. And so there's a lot of marketing dollars out there, you know, drug companies also, multivitamin companies, all the different things out there. So, yeah. Okay. So yes, I don't take a multivitamin. I do take some B12, but that's the reason for that is a familial thing. My aunt was telling me about some issues she's had, and she was like, you know. So anyway, I was like, okay, maybe I should start, you know, popping some B12. I don't fear vitamins though. Like that is the thing. It's like I don't think they can really hurt you, but they might help. So all right, next question. So Style says, I'm new to OMAD. Which of your books should I start with first? Okay, so funny you should mention OMAD. I realized last week that I actually have a full manuscript, first draft form, just sitting in my Google Drive of the book I wrote about OMAD. I don't like, I don't even remember really writing the book. It's funny. I look back, I was like, when did I actually write this? It was around the time, like the year my dad died. I I wrote that book. And I do this thing when I finish a manuscript. I will let it sit for about 6 weeks, to just kind of let it sit there so I can get some distance from it, and then I go back and work on it. But I guess I finished it right around the holiday time, a little bit before the holidays. So and the holidays were just rough that year, and I just never came back to it, and I forgot about it. And so my point is, I may have an OMAD book coming out later this year. I've got to sit down and really read it and see, about it. But as far as I'm going to take you through the ones I would say, okay, The Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting. This is the book that has sold the best. So, and it is well reviewed on Amazon. Thank you for all of you out there, by the way, who review my books, because that super duper helps me as an author, an independent author. So, this book is great if you're, I mean, you said you're new to OMAD. If you're new to kind of like intermittent fasting, this is just a great overall book because it takes you through the basics of intermittent fasting, kind of the mindset that is helpful if you take the right kind of mindset to it, of being flexible and that kind of a thing. And OMAD is in here. I don't focus on OMAD because I'm more of a fan of just whatever particular way of intermittent fasting works for you. But there's a lot in here that will help. I mean, I've got chapters on the importance of mindset, emotional eating, which is something a lot of us struggle with, the importance of tracking. That's not OMAD specific. When I say tracking, I mean like tracking your weight and your progress. Those are all things that would be very helpful to you on your weight loss journey. But if you feel like you kind of have a handle on intermittent fasting, like you're just like, yeah, I get that stuff, then I would recommend personally Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles. I love this book. I wrote about all the harder parts of weight loss, and it really goes more into the struggles, the challenges you're going to face. And each time I talk about, this is something I faced and this is how I overcame it. And I share like all the different struggles, even like in maintenance, like even after having a YouTube channel and writing books about intermittent fasting and weight loss, there are just things that continue to creep up, that you have to face. So, I want to go back and actually read these books, because I really do think that I like this book better. But yeah, and if I do end up publishing that book on OMAD, then I would say get that one. But I really do like Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles. I feel like mindset and challenges are one of those things that people, it's kind of like a blind spot. You kind of, or at least this is how I used to approach weight loss. I used to think, I just need to find that perfect plan, right? Like it was like the plan was the thing. Like it's like, oh, it's the wheat in my diet. That's the problem. Or like, oh, it's the carbs, or oh, it's, and what I learned on the weight loss journey was you do have to have a strategy, right? For me, the strategy is intermittent fasting, particularly OMAD. But the reasons why I would overeat, the reasons I would quit on the weight loss journey, the reasons I would regain the weight, like those are the things that you really need to tackle. And those are kind of universal. It doesn't really matter what kind of plan you're using. You have to face those other things. And so yeah, so that's what I would say. All right, but thank you for buying my book. If you buy my book, my books are available on Amazon and also a lot of other fine retailers, Smashwords, all those different places. Like if you're not particularly an Amazon fan, or if Amazon is not in your country, you can also look on those various places. I have a whole page, or like a page on books to read, which is they distribute books like to a lot of different places, Kobo, that kind of stuff, Hoopla. I'm everywhere. I should be everywhere. So you should be able to find it if you just search around for it. All right, next question. Kim J 5457, hi there, says I always have a hard time staying on track, and the middle of the month I'm falling off. Also, can I drink coffee? What time can I start? And can I use half and half and creamer? Okay, so let's see. Let's start off with the easy question first. In my coffee right now, that I am drinking here on the live, it's coffee with half and half. That is how I do it. I have a picture of my coffee with half and half somewhere. I don't know if Jay can find it, but just so you can have a visual. Because I don't think you can see it. I can't see myself right now. I can see the camera. I can't see myself because okay, yeah, there we go. Ooh, I almost spilled it. But so you can see there's a good bit of cream in there. It's not like a splash. It's a heavy pour. But I love my coffee like that. I love coffee. It is a treasured part of my life. I'm very thankful for coffee. It's a wonderful little ritual. Like my husband and I, we wake up in the morning, we get our coffee, we go out on our front porch, we watch the sunrise. It's wonderful, and I love that. So, and the reason I point that out is because that was a thing when I was starting to try to practice intermittent fasting, that it was the first kind of like I felt like I'm running my head against the wall because at first intermittent fasting was like, oh yeah, like I'll just wake up, and I like my first rule with intermittent fasting was, okay, I'm gonna stop eating by like 10 p.m. and I won't eat before 6, right? So sometimes I was waking up a little bit before 6, but I was like, no, I won't have my coffee until my eating window opens up. And that was fine at first, right? Because it's like, oh well, it's still super early, right? But as my window got pushed further and further out, it was like, ugh, like I want my coffee, like I really do. And I hate black coffee. I've tried so hard to like it. I've tried to train myself to like it, and I just couldn't do it. I can't do it. It's bitter. It's gross. Like if it's black, it's gross, and if it's got half and half in it, it's heavenly. So I realized, I was sitting there with this problem, and I was like, I'm gonna not do intermittent fasting. Like I will quit this plan if I can't have my half and half and coffee just outside of the eating window. Like I won't stick with this. I was just honest with myself. And I would encourage you, like honesty with yourself is really important on the weight loss journey. Like you don't have to tell anybody else that like, oh, I'm struggling with this. Like I feel weak because I wish I could be better, like I wish I could be stronger and just have the black coffee. Like you don't have to even deal with other people. It's about you. Like what are you willing to commit to? And I realized like, okay, I'm not willing to do this. If it means no coffee with half and half, except for in the eating window. So I decided my new rule, and this is back in like 2015, I'm just going to have coffee with half and half in it whenever I want. And that's just part of my plan. Like I'm just going to do it that way. And I will figure out the plan. I will build the plan around that. Like I will tweak my intake otherwise of like food and calories so that I can still lose weight and have my rules be what they are. And it makes intermittent fasting so enjoyable for me. Okay. So that's the first thing. So yes, absolutely, you can have your coffee with half and half the way you like it, whenever you want it. So I have my first coffee at about 7 o'clock. Sometimes earlier. If I wake up like super early, I'll make some coffee. But generally, it's about 7 o'clock, and then we have a cup around 9:30, and then we have afternoon coffee, which is around 12:30. Jay makes the coffee. I generally don't. And he remembers what time it is, so that's really helpful. So he just keeps me on track. But I've had my coffee at different times too. Like that has not been a consistent thing. Like sometimes back several years ago, Jay's job, we were waking up at like 3 something in the morning. That was a terrible time. But it was, like I was having coffee super early, and I'd have it like later in the morning, and then in the afternoon. Sometimes afternoon coffee has been like 2 or 3 o'clock. Just whenever. It's not something to, like worry about. All right. Now the hard time staying on track in the middle of the month, you're falling off. So I wonder why that is, because like what's going on in the middle of the month. Um, like, is there something like so like a lot of times people will struggle with like in within the week, right? It's like they'll do great on Monday, Tuesday, but then like motivation just kind of like falls off until the weekend, and then they're like completely off, and then it's back to, get back to it on Monday. So the monthly thing, that's a little bit interesting. It might maybe you mean like the it, well, is it related to your cycle? I mean, that would change over time, but is it something like with money or something like that? Because that can affect the weight loss journey. Your financial situation, relationships, all of those things can affect the weight loss journey. So the first thing to investigate is what's going on in the middle of the month. For me, I definitely saw that a lot of my emotional eating, stress eating was tied to money. Like, I remember vividly one time I had been practicing intermittent fasting. I'd finally gotten consistent and I was used to it. I was like, okay, like this was just what I do, like I fast. I don't eat during, the day. Like maybe like my first food would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I remember it was like 10 o'clock in the morning and I was standing in front of the pantry looking for a snack. And I just like came to myself like, what am I doing right now? Because I'm not gonna eat like but I realized I paused and I was like, okay, what led me here? Like, let me rewind. Like, what were the events that led me to this place? And so what I saw was, oh, okay, we just had that budget meeting, right? We just had that budget meeting, and like things were not going well. My husband back then was a realtor, and oh gosh, like income could fluctuate so wildly. You never really knew. Like, what I remember one time he had like 5 closings lined up. It was supposed to be a fantastic month. I can't even remember how much money that was supposed to be. Jay, do you remember? Was it like
Probably 20,000.
it was like about $20,000 that was supposed to come in, and like all but one of those fell. Those, and it was the smallest one, fell through. Oh man, I mean that month was so rough. So okay. So the point is, it was a stressful time, and so um, and so then I was, so I started to notice like, okay, I have to pay attention to these other things too, that tend to be the things that would have made me quit. Because it's like, if you're stressed about money and then you go eat, and then what can happen is like, oh, I broke my fast early, oh, I don't have any willpower, and I'm so weak, and why, and I, like you can kind of spiral. So so just investigate it. So Kim, let's see. Okay. Okay, so maybe the second week, what to eat? Well, I just eat what I've always eaten. Like I eat whatever my family eats. I don't have any kind of special food rules or like, oh, we got to have X, Y, or Z or this many anythings. Like I just eat the food. So I just eat regular food. Just it's so boring. Like as far like I don't do a lot of videos on like what I eat because I feel like it's just food. Like I don't even I don't know. It feels so mundane. Um but I don't have any kind of food rules. So like spaghetti and meat sauce and garlic bread and a salad, or lasagna and a salad, or just lasagna, uh pasta with a cream sauce and chicken Alfredo, or tacos, Taco Tuesday, taco bowls, or rice bowls, or Chinese beef bowls with rice, or fried rice. Like there's just like gravy and biscuits, eggs and hash browns and bacon. Like it's just the food. Like so, you don't need to like overthink it. Like you've probably been eating your whole life, right? So like my point is like you can add variety to that. Like if you're you're only limited by your imagination, basically. So like, I don't know where you're getting stuck. I'm not sure if it's like, are you are you feeling like there's got to be like a plan, or are you afraid of like, well, you got to eat certain kinds of combinations of food, or what is it? um because man, I like, there's like just infinite possibilities with cooking. I love to cook because it's like you can create something new every night if you want to. Like, I love to cook without recipes. I like to just go in there, be like, what have we got, and then just make something from that. Uh but you can, look up recipes. Find, if you don't know how to cook, if that's part of the problem, it's like, like you feel like, there's not enough good stuff. Well, like, there are great recipes out there. Like, I love Sally's Baking Addiction is one that I love. I actually have a lot of luck on like all recipes, because so many people use it that like there are so many reviews and everything. You can usually find good recipes on there. Chef John, he's got a bunch of good ones on there. Ina Garten, oh my goodness, her food is like a lot of times very super high calorie, but so good. Which can actually be helpful on the weight loss journey, I would argue, because when you are really satisfied by a meal, like it's like, man, that was really good, I feel nice and full, then you can eat the right amount and not feel deprived, Okay, Robinette 2430 says, what can I do for intermittent fasting when my work schedule is all over the place? 14 to 16 hour days and only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and shifts from day to day. And shifts vary from day to day. Any advice? Wow. That's a tough one. First of all, do you like your job, and do you want to keep it? Because you might want to look for a different job if that is stressing you out and it's like, this is not a good job for me, like just from a physical standpoint. However, there might be a job that you're doing that's like awesome and it's good, and so we can work with that. I like to float that idea out there, because sometimes people who are struggling with their weight, it's also because there's like a career change that needs to be made. And so I like to just, put that out there. Okay. But let's say you love your job. You love this job, and it's like, but the schedule is a nightmare. We can work with that. You can look at it. So it depends on how different the schedule is. Like, you can approach this from a few different ways. One way you can approach it from is that you look at your schedule, and maybe you could look at, say, the past few weeks, and you can kind of like look at the big picture and say, okay, this is kind of the way the shifts are landing. And so would there have been a fasting window, or let's say an eating window, because the eating window is smaller, so that's kind of just an easier way to think about it in my mind. So like, let's say you're doing a 16-8. I don't know what schedule you're doing, but let's say you're doing a 16-8. So you've got an 8-hour window where you're eating. Like, if you had done a certain kind of window, like, would there have been a window that would have worked, like an 8-hour window? If you look back, could that have worked? If not, if it's like, no, you don't understand, like, there are times when I would have just been asleep during that time, and other times where I would have been working during that time, well, then that is more challenging, because like it's challenging because it's what makes things a lot easier on the weight loss journey is to do the same thing every day, or to be in just a routine. Like, this is what I do. I wake up, I fast until this time, and then, like, one schedule I loved was I ate between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. and that was just it. It was just like, it was an 18-6. It was so easy to remember when I was eating. And so if you can just keep it, because it's just less friction. When you have the same thing like that you just do, you don't have to think about it, and it's just easier to stick with, because that's when you're doing it. But if it's like, no, that wouldn't work, then could you then say, okay, you could tie the eating that you do, like a certain kind of a window to your schedule. So that would mean from day to day, you might have like kind of fluctuating hours. Like, well, man, that day it was like an 18-hour fast. This other day it was like a 14-hour fast. But overall, maybe you're averaging, like a 16-hour fast. Like that can still work. All of it can work, because it's not about the windows. It's about the amount of food you're eating. The windows help you eat the right amount. And you've got an additional challenge because you're not getting enough sleep. I mean, I do really well on about 6 hours of sleep, 6 to 8. But anything less than that, and I start to get like, okay, I need more sleep. So hopefully, you can either get on a better sleeping schedule. Like, I'm just wondering, like, are you a doctor or something? Is that why? Because that sounds kind of like more of a doctor schedule, or maybe nurses too. But try to get sleep. Some people say they do well on less sleep, but that it can just make weight loss more difficult. Simply because when you are tired, it is just hard to make good decisions. It's just easier. Like your willpower goes down. It's easier to overeat because you're just tired. It's like, I'm tired. It's harder to care about, being in a deficit. It's like, I just want food. I just, like I'm tired and I want food. Construction, concrete. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so those are some long hours. And are you happy there? But I mean, you don't have to answer that. But but if you like it, I would say, if you feel tired, then sleep, nap during the day, not while you're working. But I'm saying, like, like, let's say you're working for 16 hours. I mean, you kind of like a 16-hour day. You need to be sleeping 6 to 8 hours. So, I mean, you really don't have much free time otherwise. But I would prioritize sleep, and you're gonna basically feel like you're just sleeping and working. But I mean, and I don't know, you might have kids and a family, and that I get it. It's tough. That is hard. Hopefully, like, let's see how many days you probably though have days where, like, I'm wondering if you're working like several days, right? And then you have several days off, or something like that. Because that, I mean, if you're doing like only she's off on Sundays. She's off on Sundays, or
I put a question.
oh, are you off on Sundays? Well, I mean, yeah, Sunday. If you are off, when you're off, I would say try to get some sleep. Sleep is just really important for life, but on the weight loss journey. So I would just encourage you on that. So, yeah, just try writing it down though. Like, actually, like, sit down with your calendar, with your work schedule, and see what will work. Because most of the time when you really sit down and you look at it, you can find that. Like, I've done that with coaching clients, like, that they kind of are overwhelmed about it, and we just sit down with the calendar. And then once you sit down with the calendar, you can have some compassion on yourself, because it's like, wow, my schedule really is all over the place. How on earth am I supposed to, like, get a schedule? But I would say most of the time there's something you can do. Either you could also, here's another thing that might work even better. On your days off, you have a certain way you do intermittent fasting, a certain window that you use. And then on your work days, you have a different schedule. So, like, that can work, because sometimes it's like there's two different kind of lives you're living, the days off and the work days, and that can work. So anyway, those are just some ideas. You'll figure it out though. Just keep working with yourself, and take care of yourself too. Travis Sheets 2343 on the live. Hello. This is not Travis. It's his wife, Amber. Well, hi, Amber. Have you had any trouble with the fasting while being in the luteal phase? which is for those of you who don't know, Jay put this little note in there for me too, because I would have like been like, I can't remember. The luteal phase is the second half of your menstrual cycle. So let's say days 14 to 28. For those of you who have 28-day schedule. So I fast all the time. I don't take breaks because of my period or anything like that. I'm consistent. I'm just stubborn about it. I'm just like, I do feel more hunger. I've noticed that for sure. Like, there are certain times of the month where I have more hunger. For me, the actual period week, that's when my appetite is increased. And of course, then also that's when water weight tends to come on. It's just, it's an emotionally trying time anyway, because your hormones are all over the place too. So that particular week for me, that's probably the most challenging out of the month. Um, uh, but everybody's a little bit different there. So I would say, like, if you are, I'm a big fan of like whatever works for you. Back in the day, my husband, I remember, like, it was right before my period, and and I was fasting. He didn't know I was fasting, but I was grouchy, right? I was just grouchy, and he brought me a Snickers. He's like, "Here, you need some chocolate." And at first I was offended by that, but then I was like, that was really sweet that he brought me a candy bar. And I mean, I was obese at this point, and so I really actually felt it was a very sweet gift. I don't know, like, at that point. Uh, and so I I did eat the candy bar. And then I felt guilty because I was like, like just now, like, I wanted to accept that gift and I wanted to eat it, but then, like, that I'm not being consistent with my plan if I do that. And so I struggled with that. But I decided, you know what? Periods are rough, and why not show myself a kindness, right? And my kindness to myself was, when I need emergency chocolate, so that's what we started calling it, I'm gonna have it, and I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. And this is just gonna be a part of my plan, and I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out how to eat the right amount of food. So, like, I have a Snickers, right? If I have a Snickers in the middle of the day, is that gonna wreck my progress? No, it doesn't have to. You can say, okay, well, I had, however many Snickers. I mean, however many calories in a Snickers, which I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think is it 300 to 400, I think. But that it's not going to wreck your progress. Like, one candy bar will not. What will is every single day you're eating just a little too much food. That's what'll do it. Or you're consistently eating far too much food. I mean, those are the things that will wreck your progress. Like, one-off things or not. It's the habits. It's the consistent things that you do. So yeah, like, having compassion on yourself, though, just, you're going through a rough time. Periods are hard. I mean, like, men don't understand periods. Okay, you can try to get it across to them, and my husband, the more I have explained it to him and just been, like, more open about it, like, here's what it feels like, he starts to he has started to understand. I think nowadays he definitely understands more about just the emotional toll it can take. Like, just it does it, like, I became more aware of how much my emotions changed over the course of the month because of the fasting and the being consistent, because I was just starting to be more self-aware. Like, I was more aware of my emotions, what was triggering me to eat, right? Like, I'm hungry right now. Why am I hungry? Well, I'm upset. Why am I upset? Well, I'm mad about this, but why am I mad about that? Because normally that would not bother me. Like, that comment or that thing, like, it wouldn't bother me. Oh, I'm right near my period. Like, I really did start to see that. It's like, I have a different sense of humor when I am near my period. It's not so good. It's like, I get, like, I don't have that kind of not happy-go-lucky. I don't know if I describe myself as happy-go-lucky ever, but like I can take a joke a lot better when I'm not near my period. So anyway, so that's just, that is what it is. So I'd say just, notice those things. If you need to make a tweak to your plan, you can do it. I eat more on my period week. I know that. Like I know, like, because we eat a lot of the same foods from week to week. And I know, like, okay, earlier in the month, earlier in the cycle rather, I'm gonna, eat this amount, but on my period week, I'm gonna have more, and that's okay. Like, it's okay, it'll work. So Style says, what exercises do you do to lose weight with OMAD? Well, the only thing I do on a consistent basis is I walk 6 miles a day, and I do it slowly. And when I say 6 miles a day, I just mean that's how many steps are on my pedometer by the end of the day. So I'm not necessarily going out for a dedicated walk every day. It's just like I'm walking inside my house. I have a treadmill desk. I mean, that's like a treadmill with a desk that raises up and down. So I'll walk while I'm working. Or I'll walk outside in my yard, like all the different things. But I want 14,000 steps on my pedometer by the end of the day. So I have a Casio G-Shock, which I love, but it's got a step counter on it, and I just, whatever it says, that's what I believe. And so, when it says 14,000, I'm like, okay, I've done my activity for the day. I don't walk particularly fast. I'm pretty slow. Like I used to tell people, it's like, oh, I walk about 3 miles an hour, and I really did think that was true. Like I just kind of guesstimate, because I'm not good at time tracking, and I tend to lose track of time. I'm not good at like remembering to, if I'll set, I've done this before. I'll try to like set a stopwatch, like how long did that take me? But then I'll forget to turn off the stopwatch. Like I'll get distracted, go do something else, and then come back to the walk like, I forgot to time it. So I just kind of, in my head thought, it's probably about 3 miles an hour. I kind of vaguely remembered way back in the day when I would walk on a treadmill at the gym, I'd put it at like 3 miles an hour, and I was thinking, yeah, it's probably what I'm doing. But once I got a walking pad, I realized, wow, no, I'm a saunterer. I saunter 6 miles a day. But really about 2.6 to 2.8, I would say, is more my normal walking speed. But when I actually have the walking pad, I can just set it on 3 and go. It kind of depends on what kind of work I'm doing. If it needs more concentration, I slow it down. If I need less concentration, I'll speed it up to about 3. But I don't like walking fast. I'm not a speed walker. If I go outside and try to speed walk, I don't like the walk anymore. I'm miserable and resentful, and then I'll quit. So I just walk at a normal pace. I've done other kinds of exercises. When I was first, like in 2015, I was powerlifting. I was doing like CrossFit style workouts of the day, that kind of thing. Back when I was obese, I hurt my back in 2015, and that at that point, that's when I went to walking. And I've just stuck with walking because walking has proved to be that thing that I can really stick to. The other stuff, I like it for a while. I get bored. I lose motivation, and then I just don't do it. Lifting weights, I love it, except for I just don't have the motivation to get out there and do it. I don't know if it's because I tend to continue to injure my back whenever I'm lifting heavy. That's part of it. I have joint issues, like multi-directional joint instability. So that is a thing. That's a factor. So yeah, that's what I do. But you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever. I mean, you can swim, play tennis, play soccer, jog, run, sprint. There's lots of things. Do whatever. Zumba. I used to love to do Zumba too. I love it. Love it. Won't stick with it, but love it at the time. Robin 2430 says, okay, so this is the concrete worker. We're back to that. Monday through Fridays with some Saturdays, and I pastor a church also. Okay, so you got a lot on your plate. Will rotating a 16-8 work as long as I'm not overeating? Absolutely. It will absolutely work. if you are in a caloric deficit, it does not matter what pattern you've got going on, right? You can eat all day long, or you can eat one time a day. Both of those plans will work if you're eating the same amount of calories and moving the same amount of, same amount of activity, right? So that works. It will work. So don't get in your head about like, oh, it's got to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. The thing that will pull the pounds off your body is you are in a caloric deficit. That's all that it is. The thing about the eating all day, for a lot of us, it's like then you eat a lot of calories and then that's when you gain weight, right? So that's why intermittent fasting works, because it's like it gives you a clear, don't eat during this time, only eat during this time. You're more aware of your eating, and so that's why it's important to like get consistent with the window, if that's your strategy. But yeah, that will absolutely work. Again, you got a lot on your plate. Might want to consider taking some stuff off your plate if you can. I tend to be the type that overcommits and takes on too many things, and then I get stressed, and then it's like, okay, I gotta like say no to some stuff, and that's tough. So anyway, take good care of yourself. All right, Greg H1C8T says, is it normal to have increased brain fog during fasting? No. At least, that's not been my experience. And the experience of, I would say my experience and of most people that I've ever talked to about fasting is that you have an increased mental clarity. If you've got like a brain fog thing going on, you might just not be eating enough. Some people just don't do great with fasting. Okay, my husband would be one of those people. He's just not like built for it. It's harder on him. It's harder on his body. He's a skinny guy anyway. Okay, so that's one factor. But different people deal with fasting in different ways. So if you're finding this like this just doesn't feel good, then maybe you should try a different strategy, some other kind of pattern of eating that doesn't lead to brain fog. But yeah, like most of the time I just feel like sharper. I feel like on those days where I do like where I eat breakfast or whatever, it's like, man, I need a nap. I need a nap now. So I do better when I'm fasting. James NM5UU says, is a headache common during fasting, especially at the 10 to 12 hour mark? Will it change as you get adapted? No, headaches are not common, should not be common. My opinion, anytime you're having a negative side effect, it's a red flag. It's like, maybe not a serious one, but it likely is pointing to not eating enough. If I ever notice like I'm having headaches, for me in particular, a visual migraine. A visual migraine means I did not eat enough the day before, and I should eat something. That is one rule I have for myself, as far as like I don't break early unless I start to get a visual migraine. A visual migraine leads surely to a regular migraine, which those are miserable. So then I just say, okay, I didn't eat enough the day before. I'm going to learn that lesson, and then going forward, I'm going to make sure I get just the right amount of food. So yeah, don't just assume, oh, well, headaches are a part of it. I would say you need to eat a little bit more and dial in, there's a fine line between being in a deficit and being in too severe of a deficit. And then, being on the other side of that, which is like, you're eating just enough food, like, so you're just going to stay where you're at with your weight. Like, you want to find that sweet spot where you're feeling really good, but you are in a deficit, so the scale is moving down, but not so far over where you're in a deficit, yes, and you're losing weight, yes, but you've got headaches and nausea and all that stuff. That's your body's way, in my opinion, of saying, it's too severe, don't do this, and so, all right, Dawn. Hi, I've been listening to some of your past podcasts. Ah, nice. There is something that you said that really got me thinking. You said you used to identify as someone who was always overweight. You said that kept you stuck. You mentioned you had to change your identity. You would say, I am temporarily overweight, but I am actively working on this. This is a huge mindset shift. Please speak on this, but I would love to see some recent videos on this topic. I think it is a very important piece of the puzzle that is missing when people want to lose weight. One could say the same thing about being broke, etc. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate the time you take doing these lives. I know you help a lot of people. Well, thank you. And thanks for being here on the live, if you're here on the live or watching the replay. I really enjoy these lives a lot. They give me energy. So, yeah. So identifying, like getting your identity from your weight, not a good thing to do. And I used to do that. It was like part of the fear of really losing weight, like becoming a person who was like, I don't struggle with that anymore. I am at a normal weight, and that's where I am. It was like, the way I've described it at one point was like, obese Kayla had to die, right? And what I mean by that is like that identifying with it, like I am an obese person, I struggle with my weight, like that is who I am. And then saying, no, that's like a temporary problem. That's not like my identity. Where do I find my identity? I find my identity in Christ. I am a child of God. Like that, I'm a Christian. That's really where my identity is. This weight loss stuff, this is, that the weight, whether I'm obese or at a normal weight or whatever, that is just a part of my physicality, which is a part of me, right? But it's not who I am. And it doesn't need to dictate who I am. And that can be kind of scary when you try to change, right? When you try to make any change in your life, there are some things that kind of go along with that. Like, when you are overweight, you eat more, right? But when you decide, to be at a normal weight, you do change your behavior. And that can be kind of scary because, like, well, what if you're kind of known as a person who eats a lot of food, and then you stop eating a lot of food, and then people are like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you eating what you used to eat? And it can be uncomfortable. Same with like being broke. If you identify with being broke, then you are going to have to get uncomfortable, like if you decide, I don't want to be broke anymore. I want to be in a better financial situation. That takes changing your behavior with money. It may change, like it may bring some pushback from friends who maybe they spend money in a certain way and you decide, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's all a part of it, but it takes a mindset shift. And the way I like to think about, like, it is scary to let go of a part of yourself, right? Because there were parts of obese Kayla that I really loved. I mean, part of obesity is like you love food, like you're so grateful for it and you enjoy it so much, and that is good. I think it's good to enjoy food. It just, like, you don't want to eat too much. So I think of it as kind of like the phoenix, right? Like it dies, but then it resurrects into something better, right? And so that's the way I think about the weight loss journey. It's like those parts of you do have to die, but then you can still hold on to them and make them into something better. So I still love food. I'm so grateful for it. I really enjoy it. But I eat the right amount, and then my whole life is a lot better because I'm not going into that other place, which is a tempting place to go, which is like, oh, that food is evil and that's bad because that made me fat. Like it can be. I love that food and it's amazing, but it's super calorie dense. So I just need to eat. Like I need to make sure that my intake is not in a place where I'm always in a surplus. So okay, let's see. And I will try to, do some more videos based on mindset kind of stuff. I always struggle with knowing what kind of videos to make on this channel. So, okay, Francis, I have watched many of your fantastic videos. Thank you. I have a few questions. What benefits do you notice with walking 6 miles a day? Is it a challenge to find 2 hours a day to walk? Thank you. Well, you're welcome. The benefits of walking there's so many. Number one, it made me more consistent with fasting. It gave me something to do other than eat. It gave me a good alternative. I was working towards the goal, a daily goal of 6 miles. So I had a daily thing that I was pretty much in control of, right? Like the scale, you can't really control day to day, right? You're going to have water weight. It's going to, you might have like, oh man, last night I had Chinese food and a bunch of water. My weight's up by 5 pounds. Or, it's like time for your period. Like, oh, your weight's up by 3 pounds and you didn't even do anything differently, or it doesn't feel like it. But the walking, it's like, I can get out there and walk. I can do that. I can make time in my day. I can carve out time. I can walk around my house and I can get those 6 miles in. That kind of like daily victory, daily goal, it has been so helpful. Not just for the walking, and I do think there's like tons of like physical benefits. Like I'm sure that it has made me stay in better physical shape overall. Like I'm really surprised so many times. Like I don't often like run or sprint, but occasionally I will. Occasionally I'll just like tear out and just run as hard as I can. And I'm always very pleasantly surprised at how much stamina I have and like how I don't get winded. Even though I'm not actually like running on a regular basis. So that's nice. And like I definitely have less joint pain. I just like have less pain overall, like I because I'm constantly active, I just feel better physically. But the mental benefits to me far outweigh all the physical. It is a stress reliever. It helps me think better. It has been traditionally like in the early days of weight loss, it was like a lot of times I was bothered by something. Like I wanted to eat because I was upset about something. And so instead I would go out walking, and then a lot of times I would end up praying. And that was really good for me spiritually. So yeah, and then the getting consistent with a thing that you're doing. It's like I do that. Like I make time for that. That is a priority. It has then helped me to stick with other things like writing books, like getting my book from, like writing it out, editing it, publishing it. Like I definitely see that the reason I'm able to do that is because of my 6 mile a day habit. Like, and I'm sure also the fasting, like those two things, like the getting consistent with fasting, getting consistent with the walking, it has made me stick with other things, if that makes sense. So, okay, we're out of time. I didn't realize, but it says 0 minutes left. So, thank you guys so much for watching. You can also check out my books on Amazon. I've got fiction books. This is young adult, clean young adult fantasy fiction, and these weight loss books, including the Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting workbook. If you're a workbook person, this takes you through the entire journey from getting started, the mindset stuff, the questions to ask yourself before you even start, and then how to get consistent with your plan, how to interpret the scale correctly, and then in maintenance, what do you do? Okay. Anyway, thank you guys. Oh, and Miscarriage of Justice. That's the cozy mystery that will be coming out later this year. I'm working on the final editing passes of that, and so that should be out soon. So, and it is on my website, KaylaCox.net. That's my author website. You can check it out, and you can check out all my books. Jay will link to all that in the chat. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.